So I have a tendency to fall in love with cities and places very quickly. Paris was no exception to this rule. So Paris has been on my personal bucket list for places to visit for a really long while. I'm honestly not really sure why it took me so long to go. You know, there's this idea of like not exploring your doorstep. And you know, there's a lot of places in the UK, there's a lot of places around England that I've not been to yet that I should go to. And although, you know, Paris isn't exactly local, it is fairly accessible from the UK. So if you watched my last video, you will know that I took a trip to Brussels back in August. Brussels is in Belgium, and this trip was actually an add-on from my trip to Paris. I took the Eurostar from London to Paris. It was my first proper Eurostar experience, and also my first experience of traveling by train from like one country to another, as in from France to Belgium. And it was such an incredibly easy process. It's something I would definitely recommend, especially for photographers, because there's no cap on luggage. There are scanners, but they're not particularly strong, so you don't need to remove film, you don't need to remove all your cameras, your laptops, all of that from your luggage. So it is really easy, a really simple process to be able to travel. If I could travel literally everywhere by train, and it was affordable and it didn't take, you know, forever, then I definitely would do it. Going to Paris was really easy. It was really quick as well, like a couple hours from London. But enough about how I got there. Let's talk about the actual trip. So something I absolutely adored about Paris was the coffee shop culture. Everything felt like a slower pace of life than other cities that I've been to. It is still such a busy and big city, but I didn't feel as though it was as rushed as other cities. It definitely encourages kind of a creative energy from the slowness of sitting outside coffee shops, outside cafes and on the riverside. You know, I might have embraced it a little bit more because, you know, I was on holiday. So that's like something to note. But it had a different kind of energy to other cities that I've been in. Like, for example, I found myself, you know, taking up drawing and sketching a lot more, visiting art shops, you know, galleries, art supply shops, things that kind of took me back to the roots of why I do the creative things that I do. I mentioned it before in my last video, but the reason I got into photography was because I studied graphic design at uni and at college. And before that, the reason I got into graphic design was because I used to sketch and I used to draw, and it's something that I don't really do much anymore. We also came across this really cute little bookshop, and it had loads of amazing photography books. I'll link that in the description, the place. I'll put it on screen as well, where it was that we went. I didn't actually buy anything, but there was so much that like I had a look through, a browse through. The one thing that stopped me buying things was the thought of having to carry it around all day. But if I go back, and now I know it's there, I definitely kind of have the intention of going and actually buying some bits. So throughout this video, you'll see a lot of film photos. I only took my Fuji GA645 on this trip. So everything was shot on film, and I used the Lab Moray Film Lab in Brussels from my last video, but I also used another lab in Paris called Reportage Image. Yet again, this was an amazing lab. The scans were brilliant, and I'll put some on screen, and the turnaround was a lot quicker than expected. They also shipped my negatives back to the UK for €5, so I do have them here. The staff were amazing, they were really helpful. Next up, we visited the Museum of Liberation in Paris because we'd seen this exhibition advertised everywhere, and it was about women war photographers, female photographers throughout different wars in the world. It's running until the 31st of December of 2022, so if you do want to check it out then, and you're in Paris, then do go and check it out. I think you pay between like €5 and €7 depending on who you are and what ticket type. We were definitely not disappointed. It was an amazing exhibition that I would definitely recommend if you are in this area. It was also pretty central, so it wasn't like we had to travel really like far to get to the museum. Of course, I'll link the exhibition in the description, but yeah, it showed loads of work from amazing photographers who I hadn't heard of any of them before, so it was a great educational experience for me. Of course, it is quite sensitive content, being from different wars across the world and across history, so I would just keep that in mind if you are going to go and visit it. But yeah, Paris has absolutely been one of my favourite cities that I've been to, and I want to go back again. I really am looking to kind of do some work over there, especially now I know how easy it is to get over from London on the train. I want to go for some more trips, some more holidays. It's somewhere that I felt really at home at, and somewhere I can see myself spending a lot of time in the future. So if you're from Paris, if you've been to Paris, if you know Paris well, I would love to know your recommendations for the city. But I will stop gushing about the city for now, and I will get into some of the photos that I took whilst I was there. I will label the film stocks if I can remember what ones I shot, and I will also label the film labs that I used, as well as linking them in the description. If you are interested in learning a little bit more about Moray Film Lab, the lab that I used in Brussels in Belgium, I do have a video up on the channel all about that trip, so I'll link that in the description as well. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.